Hey everybody, today we're going to talk about dahlias, how to plant them, how to wake them up, how to take root cuttings, how to divide tubers, all things dahlias, so stick around. So I've just pulled this clump of dahlia tubers from storage where I've stored them all winter, and you can see it's already sprouting and it already has roots, and I've got the tag with it. This is a Clearview Daniel from Swan Island. But look how many tubers it has now. It's multiplied. So we're going to take them over to an area where I have dirt and pots, and we're going to start separating, and I'm going to show you how to do that. Here's a good example of what an eye looks like. This is what you're looking for. This one is already sprouted, and these right here are getting ready to sprout. But here's another one down here. It's like a little raised bump on the end of the neck there. So I could probably split this right here, but I'm just gonna go ahead and let this one go like this. I'll plant it, and you wanna lay it on its side when you plant it with the eye pointing up. All right, so you can see I've got several pots here because I think there's gonna be several viable tubers that I'm gonna be able to get off of this. So what you're looking for when you start dividing the tubers is each tuber needs to have an eye, a neck, and a tail, but sometimes I have actually had them without the tail and they've been fine. But we've got to separate it right here. So this one is a good tuber, and you can see it already has a root. So when you go to plant it, we'll do this one in a smaller pot. You just lay it on its side and cover it slightly, and that will sprout. Here. Yeah, I'm pretty sure all of these are good. Separate this one. Now, if it does not have an eye, it will grow roots, but it will never sprout. So you got to look for the little eyes. All right, this is another good one. I'll lay it to the side. All right, I'm gonna snip this one right here. And don't worry about cutting too much because we'll probably end up splitting this guy in half. This one looks like it might have a little bit of damage to it. Like a bug might have got into this. Let's see. So a lot of people will go ahead and separate their dahlia tubers before they put them away for winter, but I find it easier if I let them sit all winter long, that it's easier for me to spot the eyes. Because I'm no expert, but I can see eyes more clearly. They're more raised after I've let them sit for a while. So I think I'm gonna go ahead and try this one as well. So I'm probably gonna get several tubers out of this one clump. So I'm just gonna keep going. All right, so I've gone ahead and moved back to the table, just a little bit more comfortable to work. And I'm gonna go ahead and go through this whole tuber clump and snip all the good tubers. All right, so you can see I'm just gonna stop right here and leave these because they're kind of close. So I'll leave this as one viable tuber clump. But look how many, 1, 2, that one's a little questionable, maybe 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, plus the 3 that I had already. All finished, and now look how many I have. I have 11 extra pots of tubers, and here is the mother. So 12 dahlia plants that I'll get from one clump of tubers. How awesome is that? So that's how you see you can quickly multiply your dahlia stock. Now I'm not gonna water these in until I see sprouts, so don't do that because they will have a tendency to rot the tubers. If the soil gets too wet, it will rot them before they get a chance to sprout. The soil was a little bit damp when I put it in the pot, so they'll be fine. I'll just keep a close eye on them, and when I start seeing sprouts like this, then I'll start watering them in. Now I can take this right here and I could cut that off really closely to the tuber, and I could pot that up, and that would be a sprout as well. So the interesting thing about dahlias is if you want a dahlia that is true to the mother plant, you can only get that 2 ways. And that is by dividing the tubers as I did, or taking a cutting. If I waited and let this go to seed at the end of the season and took the seeds, I would not get the true plant from the mother. Dahlia seeds, it's crazy. I would get a plethora of dahlias. So when you plant the seed from the dahlia, it will not be true to the mother plant. There's no telling what dahlias I would get from it, which is kind of crazy, huh? So it would just be a guessing game as to what dahlias would come from the seed. But if I want to get true stock from the mother plant, that's done 2 ways, dividing the tubers or taking cuttings. I have different options here on the table of how I will be planting dahlias this year. There's a few varieties that I've picked up from the big box stores, and I even found these at a local dollar store. So I thought, what the heck, they're $1. I'll try them. And then these, I have containers that I have overwintered from my garden from last year, and you can start to see they're already beginning to sprout. So I'll be taking some of these out, like these large clumps here, and we'll be dividing the tubers, and I'll show you how to do that. And then we'll take some root cuttings from the ones that are already sprouting, and I'll show you how you can multiply your stock by doing that. All right, so you can see how quickly I separated the clumps and multiplied my dahlias. So I mentioned briefly about taking cuttings, so I'm gonna show you how to do that real quick. So I come back into my tub where I've stored, and they've already began sprouting, and see, I can just show you, some of them don't make it. Some of them that you've stored, like this one, it's, even though it's got roots, it's already starting to rot in the center, so I'll toss those. This one's gonna be a cafe au lait, so I'm just gonna kind of gently get this one out because it's, like I said, it's already sprouting, already has roots. Just shake it off a little bit. So this was a clump that was laying on its side, and they've already begun to sprout. So we're gonna take this and take a cutting off of this, and I'll show you how to do that. So don't be afraid to take the sprout off of there because it will not kill the eye. The eye will just produce another sprout in its place. There's another bad tuber that I gotta move out of the way. But what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna come as close to the tuber as I can. Way down in there. Let's see if we can get it dug out. There it is. Expose that. All right, so you can see it's coming from way down here, right down here. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna gently just snap it off right where the eye is. So now I've got this nice cutting, and I'll wet that end of it, and I'll stick it in the rooting hormone, and then we'll stick it into a pot. So let me do that real quick. So I've got my soil, and it's just a little bit damp, and I'm gonna go ahead and just poke a hole in it to accept the cutting. Then I've just got a little bit of water, and I'll dip it in there, and then I'm gonna dip it down into the rooting hormone, shake off the excess, and then right down into the soil it will go. And it's hard to do this one-handed, so I'm gonna put the camera down and all right, and there you go. I'll stick a label in it real quick, labeling what it is, and we'll just watch this baby grow. So now I can come back and clean this up. I can take more cuttings if I want, or I can leave. I'll probably just leave this because it looks like a lot of these tubers are not any good. So I'll probably just leave this clump and clean it up a little bit, plant that like that in the soil. So now I'm going to plant the tubers that I bought from the big box stores. You can see I bought this one from Lowe's. It was $10.98 for 3 plants, and they may be fine. There are a lot of times that you'll open it up and it will not be the best quality, or there'll be, some of them will be shriveled. So we're gonna go ahead and open this one and see what we're working with. All right, well, I lucked out on this one because not only are they good and viable, because I can already see them beginning to sprout, but I got 4 of them, so awesome. Yep, they all seem to be in good shape. They're all beginning to sprout already. So there you go. I'll have 4 dahlia plants from the big box store, and this is a lavender perfection. Is she a beauty? I believe this one might be a dinner plate. I usually buy my dahlias in bulk from a dahlia breeder just because, you know, I'm a flower farmer, so I want high quality flowers and I want to know exactly what I'm getting. But, you know, I love dahlias. I love flowers, and so anytime I see anything like in the big box store or the dollar store, I go ahead and take advantage of that because I can grow that as a test the first year, and if they're good quality, then I'll put them in production. So you can see, as a home gardener, you'd be able to quickly start your dahlia collection if you wanted to in your own personal garden, or even as a flower farmer. You could divide, you could take cuttings, or just start collecting from big box stores. So I hope this video has helped you today to learn a little bit more about dahlias, and I'm going to close out this video by giving you a look at last year's dahlias and how beautiful they were, and I'm looking forward to giving you some updates this year and showing you some beautiful blooms. So remember guys, bloom where you're planted.